Yeah. What school? Hard Knocks. School of Hard Knocks. Tough. You have no idea what I went through. Custer County District High School. Miles City. Actually, at that time, 7th grade, I was in Washington Middle School. You want to know more about Miles City?
Yeah.
You guys could. All right, so moving on. Tough. Tough. The mean streets of Miles City. All right, so gunfights. Actually, it was a big gunfighting now. But 12 amendments we ratified, or 12 amendments would be proposed. 10 would get the 2/3 vote necessary in both houses of Congress, and then eventually 3/4. Madison wrote them. So don't forget, Madison wrote those. Now a member of the House of Representatives. He wrote the Bill of Rights. He wrote them, all 12 amendments. So Madison is writing these partially to appease his friend, but remember, he wants the Constitution to survive. Madison believes in the Constitution. Oh, sure. He thought he might be president. There is self-interest to protect his wealth, but he's a patriot. He really does believe in the values of the country. We might disagree with the values he emphasized in his own personal system, his own personal belief system, but he was a patriot. He thought this was the best government. He wants the Bill of Rights to promote his government. He's the father of it in many ways. So let's look at the Bill of Rights. Write down Bill of Rights, and let's get to Article 1. We're not going to go into every detail, but before we write the Bill of Rights, write down one thing. All 10 amendments in some way address historical problems. They have something to do with British occupation, or problems with the Articles, or other historical events. The ones like the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence, they aren't sitting in an ivory tower pondering life. There are real issues, and we have to put these down. We're worried this might happen because they either happen in the colonies or the new United States, or their own reading of British history, English history, like the English Civil War. So that's why they wrote it. Nothing happens in a vacuum. There are real reasons why people do things. They might be good, they might be bad reasons. And so, let's look at the First Amendment. Can you read it okay? First Amendment. Now, it's really written in kind of a convoluted way. I'm going to go through a couple amendments kind of carefully, go through just parts, but I do want to get through these because it so relates to history and so many misinterpretations and proper interpretations. Is that better? Better if I do this? Is everyone happy?
Yeah.
I'm just pondering my interpretation of the Bill of Rights. See that? I was waving my pen. Permanent. Okay, so Amendment 1. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. What does that say? Does it say freedom of religion? I don't read that anymore. Does it say you can practice any religion you want? I'm going to go to the church and beating the people over the head with rocks. Can you do that? You don't have freedom of religion. It doesn't say that. It says Congress shall make no state religion. So there can't be, only Catholics or only Druids can be elected to office. I think that'd be cool, wouldn't it? Worship trees, human sacrifice, maybe not. Okay. But it does. Yeah. I was going to say we have a lot of freshmen. And I said it anyway, so. And that has been filmed. No. But, and it says Congress cannot prohibit a religion. It just can't say you can't practice religion. Or, heck, this was actually proposed in the 1850s, no Catholics. By the Know Nothing Party. Literally, no, knowledge, nothing. That can't happen. But it doesn't mean you can practice anything. And the reason I'm going through this is there are gray areas. And this goes back to colonial America when, especially like the Puritans tried to keep out other religions, etc. So saying, no, we're not going to have that. But also the fear of another 30 years war. States actually did not have it. There were still some states that had a state religion. Mostly you had to be a Christian, but eventually that would go away. So let's look at the next one. Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech. What does that say? You do not have freedom of speech, a blanket freedom of speech. But Congress can pass no law restricting your speech. I can't pass a law saying, Congress can't pass a law saying only people with brown eyes can speak. That would be unconstitutional.
But if someone's sued.
And you're right, actually, you got a very valid point. You would take a lawsuit. All right, that's the law. I just realized I don't have brown eyes. What was I thinking? I'm the one who passed it. I just want to go home. I want to go home early. That's my law. So, government can make slander, libel, illegal. Treasonous talk is illegal, technically. Or actually, some is, some isn't. It's a gray area. Or you can't walk into a crowded theater and for fun yell, "Fire!" and watch the panic. That's illegal. I know. So you do not have freedom of speech. And there's also one more thing. It says Congress.
So the executive.
No, actually executive carries out. So Congress and the executive, technically. But Congress, the executive enforces. So they might play games with that, right?
What if
And it
there's an
does. Executive orders only apply to laws.
Oh.
When they say president does that, the president is making an executive order on how they interpret laws. And we'll talk more about those in the 20th century because there will be so many more. But it doesn't mean like your boss can give you as an employee freedom of speech. If you say something they don't like in a lot of states, especially, not Montana. Montana's a little different. But let's say you're in Alabama and you say something you don't like, if your boss doesn't like, you're fired. He can fire you. You have no freedom of speech from your boss or on the street from somebody else. And so freedom of speech is a gray area. Montana has different labor laws. In fact, I just saw one. It's technically speech because it's an action. But there's a teacher in Georgia, in this little school district, the suburb of Atlanta, who got fired by putting on the Facebook. Is anyone on the Facebook? That's gone, isn't it? Isn't it gone? It should be gone. I have nothing to do with it. I'm confused by the whole thing. People give up too much of themselves on there. It's kind of scary. She put a picture of her on a cruise. This is a young elementary school teacher. I think she was like 28. She's holding a glass of wine. And they fired her.
No.
And what was her? Montana, you couldn't do that, but in Georgia, you could do that. Yeah, especially adults. It's not like, okay, maybe if she had like, a crack pipe or something, and listen, on my cruise, and here's heroin. Okay, I can understand that, but isn't that a little scary? So people think you have this blanket. Yeah, it's your fault, man. So let's go to the next one. Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of the press. I know it's the way they write down press. But same deal, right? It doesn't mean that there's complete freedom of the press, but I can't pass laws that technically say there'll be no newspapers. Of course, that's almost happening now. And that's where most of the news comes from, so I have no idea what's going to happen. But they can't explicitly censor the press. But they can. The government has many times passed law passed by Congress or given the president the ability to censor things like in wartime. And so, once again, not a blanket freedom. Here we go again. Congress shall make no law abridging the right of the people to peaceably assemble. It's very awkward the way they do it. But the next one, assemble. What's the key word there? Who defines peaceably? Specifically the person carrying out the laws, so the executive branch. Isn't that a pretty big infringement? You can't just assemble. They don't want you to assemble. They say you're a mob and you're going to run around breaking stuff. And they disband you. And of course, we'd all be like, how they find you? So, next one. Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom to petition the government of redress of grievances. So you can give the government, usually Congress, a petition. They get thousands every day. They can't say, no, I'm not going to take one from, once again, now from brown-eyed people. I know, they can talk, but they can't petition. I know. I can petition, I can't talk. Do they have to read them?
No.
So, gray areas, right? But the British, they're worried about their colonial history and the religious issues there. The British restricted press, speech. They banned colonists from assembling with the coercive acts. So these are all, they couldn't petition Parliament about taxes. So these directly relate to their history. So they didn't want blanket freedoms, but at the same time, they want to make sure that Congress can't take those away. The states, they didn't apply to the states. Not until 1868. We'll come back to that. The Bill of Rights, not the most important amendment. The most important amendment is the 14th. Made the Bill of Rights apply to the states. That's a big deal. So, one of the most misunderstood one we got to get to is the Second Amendment. Now, the Second Amendment directly relates to an issue about ratifying the Constitution. Don't think any other issue, there is an issue for that. And why is it written in such a very convoluted and difficult to understand way?
So the normal person can understand it.
Actually, that's why laws are written that way, but you might be surprised this time it isn't. They took out words because of the complexities of it. Let me show you what Madison really wrote, and you'll get an idea what he was writing the Second Amendment for. That's what he originally wrote. Can you read it? Can you see it? That's not confusing, is it? A well-regulated militia composed of the body of the people, being best security for your state, or if people get their arms shall not be infringed, but no one religiously scrupulous of bearing arms shall be compelled to render military service in person. What's this amendment about? About militias. What was their fear? Anti-federalists were worried about militias because they wanted to make sure states could have militias to do what?
But
Actually, it wasn't so much government, even though it might be, but Madison thought, they'll never take on my government. What's that?
our rebellions.
Rebellions by whom? Slave rebellions. That was the greatest fear in the South. The greatest fear of any slave state. The fear of slave rebellions. And Madison knew Southern states, men like Jefferson and Madison himself, knew we needed a militia. But what's the problem? Why did they change words? I think you might see it. Composed of a body of the people implies who's going to be in the militia. Yeah. And who won't be? That means basically all what kind of people? White men. All white men will be in. That sounds like conscription, the draft. And also, define religiously scrupulous. And if you have that, that means anyone that they're religiously scrupulous, they get out, but then everybody else is in, and you're going to be forced in. It's not clear. So what do? They literally put a line through this, and they put a line through this. And that's why you get this. That doesn't make sense, does it? I mean, the words don't really fit together, but if you add the other words, it makes more sense. Now let's look at a few words. What does regulated mean? Okay, we talk about what regulated means today, but what matters is what did regulated mean to Madison when he wrote that? Huh?
Trained.
Yeah, trained and organized, exactly. It has to be trained. So not a bunch of yahoos running through the park or running through the forest with guns. That's not a militia. Trained regulated with a command structure, that's militia. So, when they said necessary for the security of a free state, he means literally states. States. State. And before we get to the people, what's an arm? Think, I was waiting for somebody to show off their arm. Yeah. I was waiting for someone to look at the gun show. What? What's an arm? Some weapons are, some weapons aren't. Some guns are, some guns aren't. Arms had a very specific meaning, especially James Madison in 1789. Exactly, and do get that down. Arms are military weapons. So some muskets are military, but like a Kentucky long rifle, not good for the military at all. Bayonets, what are they? Yeah, that's an arm. Cannon, that's an arm. Thermonuclear weapons, that's an arm. No, it doesn't say that. Because I'm just throwing out, let's say if all of you had a nuclear weapon. I would argue that's not well regulated. And you're not part of a trained militia, are you?
What if you trained them?
All right, let's do that. Now, one more thing. Who are the people? He uses the people down here, body of the people. The people. Who's the people?
Right.
The people. The citizens. We, the citizens, can have a well-regulated militia with military-grade weapons. Does it say that individuals can?
No.
Up until 2008, the Supreme Court and every court said, no, this only refers to militia. In 2008, the Supreme Court ruled in one of the most precedent-breaking decisions in American history, that 5-4 ruling, we now say it implies that you can have some weapons. It's a big, I mean, it's hard to find a more radical court ruling than 2008. It's called Heller versus D.C. Where before, of course, state can control. Then after, now it's gray area. No, actually, the Supreme Court said you can't have military weapons. Just some personal weapons. And I'll get you, I'll talk very quickly about the 9th and 10th Amendment. Oh, I want your outline. Oh, good. Outline? Very good. That's awesome. You did good. I'm proud of you. Gage, do I have your... I'm not doing that one. It's like 297, or the last couple pages. Tomorrow.
Charlie, your slide's off.
You want homework? I can come up. Right, I did it through 299, but I put 297 because I wasn't going to quiz on the election. And as it turned out, that really wasn't that big of a deal, but I did it anyway. PBS took down what we're going to show today.
Are you serious?
I'm very irked. I'm really upset.
What's your email?
LBJ for the USA 1
LBJ
at Gmail.
is for and the is spelled out.
Everything, yes, everything is spelled out. All